Welcome to the Mystic Messenger podcast, the place where we don't just explore the surface of spirituality, we dive into the hidden codes beneath it. The truths you feel in your bones, the ones that seem to whisper in your dreams, in numbers, in songs you weren't supposed to hear at that moment, and yet you did. Today's episode is a little different. Today, we're pulling back the veil on a concept that has captivated, confused, and in some cases, corrupted the spiritual path for many seekers. The 144,000. You've heard it whispered in ascension circles, seen it referenced in TikTok videos, light language transmissions, and even biblical prophecies. Maybe someone told you, you're one of the 144,000. Maybe you told someone else. Maybe you secretly hoped it was true or worried that it wasn't. And yet, if you're honest, you've never quite known what it truly meant. Is it literal? Is it symbolic? Is it some club of chosen ones? Or just a cosmic fairy tale to soothe our ego's thirst for significance? Here's the truth most won't say aloud. This idea that only 144,000 souls are chosen was never meant to feed your ego. It was meant to awaken your blueprint. It was encoded as a frequency, not a membership badge. The real meaning of 144,000 is one of the most guarded truths in spiritual history. Because if humanity knew what it really meant, and if those carrying this frequency activated fully, the system would collapse. This is why it's been distorted. This is why it's been hidden under layers of fear, fantasy, and false light. And this is why you were called to listen today. You're not here to chase a label. You're here to remember your mission. Whether you carry this frequency or not, the truth we uncover here will call your soul higher. So take a breath, feel your feet on the ground, and let's begin the unraveling. Where the 144,000 originated, and why it was coded in the scripture. The first mention of the 144,000 comes from the book of Revelation, written in the language of prophecy, symbol, and cosmic metaphor. Revelation 7:4 reads, "Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel." To the literal mind, this is a head count. To the esoteric initiate, it's a spiritual cipher, a sacred code hidden in plain sight. Let's break this down. 12 tribes represent cosmic order and divine structure. 12,000 from each tribe mirrors the completion of soul fragments or collective soul rays. 144,000 equals 12 times 12 times 1,000. It's not a head count. It is a vibrational frequency map for how light consciousness was meant to restore itself on Earth. The writers of esoteric texts like the Revelation encoded deeper truths within myth, metaphor, and symbol to protect the knowledge from being destroyed or misused. The early mystery schools, Essence, Gnostics, early Kabbalists, understood that the soul's evolution moves in stages of encoded awakening, not indoctrination. The 144,000 was never meant to be a club. It was meant to be a signal. A wake-up code buried in the timeline so that when the soul was ready and Earth entered the prophesied age of transition, the right souls would hear the call. The number 144 appears not just in Scripture, but also in sacred geometry, crystalline DNA activation, the 12 strands of multidimensional soul DNA, and 12 frequency of divine sound, the flower of life pattern, which encodes unity consciousness, timekeeping, 1,440 minutes in a day equals wholeness, completion, embodiment. So in truth, 144,000 represents the soul's original divine architecture, remembered, reassembled, and ready to anchor in the next world. When religion replaced mysticism, the literal replaced the symbolic. Those in power wanted followers, not awakened creators. So the 144,000 became a number to fear. Are you one of them or not? A way to separate and control the elect versus the damned. A trap for the ego. I'm special, you're not. But the truth is, you don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. And those who carry this code aren't better. They're just wired to activate early, transmute fast, and anchor light under pressure. That pressure is part of the design. The 144,000 is not a number. It's not a prophecy. It's a frequency of remembrance encoded into this earth experiment to awaken in time through you. You don't find it. It finds you. When you're ready to become the truth, you came to remember. We live in a world obsessed with counting. How many followers do I have? How many views do I have? How many chosen? How many left behind? But the soul doesn't speak in numbers. It speaks in vibration, in symbol, and in essence. So when we hear 144,000, and the first instinct is to imagine a literal lineup of souls being accepted into heaven, what we're actually doing is filtering spiritual symbolism through the lens of the ego's need for exclusivity. And this, right here, is where much of the distortion begins. Let's step back and ask something a little deeper. Why 144,000? Why not 1 million or 888? What makes this number so specifically powerful, and why does it show up across biblical prophecy, ascension teachings, sacred geometry, and DNA structure? Because numbers are not just math. They are universal archetypes, frequencies that exist across dimensions. In numerology, 1 symbolizes divine origin, 4 is stability, and when doubled, 144, we have a code of completion, structure, and divine blueprinting. But let's go deeper than that. 12 times 12 equals 144. 12 has long been seen as the number of cosmic order. The 12 tribes, 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 disciples, 12 cranial nerves, 12 strand DNA template. Multiply that by 1,000 and you get expansion, not quantity, but amplified frequency. This isn't about counting bodies. This is about magnifying resonance. It's a collective frequency template activated by certain soul groups, oversouls, or divine missions across time. So, in truth, 144,000 is a harmonic, not a head count. It is the frequency of divine structure restored. It's the sacred grid required to anchor a new earth. It's a template of consciousness encoded in certain souls to awaken in phases, often through pressure, loss, grief, trauma, and finally, remembrance. Still think it's a coincidence? 144,000 miles per hour is the speed at which Earth orbits the Sun. 1,440 minutes in a day, the completion of one full Earth cycle. 144 hertz, a frequency used in heart chakra and DNA healing. In sacred geometry, the Dodecagon 12-sided polygon forms the base of many multi-dimensional templates reflecting the fractal nature of soul light. And perhaps, most mysteriously, the fully activated light body, or Merkaba, begins to spin at speeds associated with the 144 frequency in esoteric teachings from Kabbalah and ancient Egyptian schools. This number is everywhere, not because of superstition, but because it reflects the archetype of spiritual light intelligence. The number also ties directly into the idea of 12-strand DNA, not in a physical sense. We currently operate with 2 visible strands, but energetically. The other 10 strands are said to be dormant until activated and correspond to higher dimensions, Akashic memory, intuitive abilities, soul mission alignment, divine embodiment of masculine and feminine energy. The 12 times 12, or 144, represents a completed activation cycle of these codes within the soul. You don't become one of the 144,000 by being born into it like royalty. You awaken the code by living through the fire, collapsing illusions, and allowing your full blueprint to come online. And when enough souls do this, the Earth's grids shift. 144,000 isn't a group. It's a critical mass of awakened frequency, a tipping point in the collective field. This is why it's so dangerous to those who profit from a sleeping population. This is where damage begins. When souls hear 144,000 and assume only a small number will ascend, you have to be born special. This is a spiritual elite group, and I need to be part of it or I am not worthy. What happens next is spiritual fear-based hierarchy, a distorted game of who's the most awakened, which is just the ego dressed up in white robes. And this is the true inversion. A frequency meant to liberate the soul becomes a symbol used to divide it. Souls begin performing spirituality, chasing ascension, buying certifications, declaring themselves ascended masters on TikTok, all while the real ones are hidden in plain sight, healing trauma, working quietly, and often invisible to the world. They do not want to be known. Remember this truth. You don't need to know if you are one of the 144,000. That's not the question. The real question is, are you living in integrity with your soul? Are you showing up for your mission even when no one sees it? Are you transmuting your pain into light, not for attention, but for truth? Because if you are, you're already holding the frequency that this world desperately needs. And whether or not you're one of them, you're part of the awakening force that makes the prophecy irrelevant. Because instead of waiting to be saved, you're becoming the anchor of what saves others. If the number 144,000 is such a powerful soul-activating frequency, why don't more people understand it? Why is the truth hidden behind layers of confusion, ego traps, and New Age marketing? The truth? Because the real meaning of the 144,000 threatens every structure built on control. Not just religious institutions, not just spiritual influencers, but the entire energetic grid of separation consciousness. Let me break it down. In almost every spiritual distortion, there is a single thread that repeats. There is something special about you, and that makes you better than the rest. This idea feels good to the wounded inner child. It comforts the unhealed ego. It makes you feel like you matter in a world that often convinces you otherwise. So when the idea of 144,000 is presented, kind of like this, only a few will make it. You were chosen for this elite role, and others won't understand you because they're not at your level. This right here seduces the very part of us that longs to be seen, but it also pulls us out of our mission and into performance. Suddenly, it's not about being in service. It's about being significant. And that's exactly where the distortion begins. When the 144,000 is misused, it becomes a control mechanism in the spiritual world, just like heaven and hell in religious systems. It tells you, you must be one of the special few or you don't matter. You have to earn your way into worthiness. You'll only ascend if you do the right things and learn from the right teachers. This is not truth. This is spiritual capitalism wearing a halo. And here is the deeper truth. The true 144,000 are not here to be followed. They are here to activate others, to dismantle false light systems, and to quietly collapse the frequency of hierarchy by embodying unity. So why is this idea distorted? Because if you actually embody the frequency of the 144,000, you become a threat to every system that depends on you staying asleep. Hence, why the 144,000 don't want to be famous. They don't want to be seen. So, it's not just religious systems, it's not just governments, but even spiritual platforms built on ego performance and hierarchy are threatened by the 144,000. Because the truth doesn't stroke the ego. The truth of the 144,000 is simple and uncomfortable. You likely volunteered for this. You chose to incarnate in one of the hardest timelines. You faced deep grief, abuse, trauma, abandonment, loss. You came here not to be worshipped, but to transmute density from the inside. You chose the path of the wounded healer. You chose karmic entanglement to burn it off for generations. You chose to remember yourself through everything that tried to make you forget. That is not glamorous. That's not viral content. That's not sacred labor. And this is why most won't teach it this way. Because the truth of the 144,000 doesn't sell enlightenment packages. It calls you into internal initiation. It requires humility, endurance, faith, and real embodiment. So, who are the ones distorting this? The distortion doesn't always come from malicious intent. Often it comes from wounded seekers who found partial truth and turned it into identity. Some are the New Age influences that you see every day on TikTok, who parrot spiritual buzzwords for fame. Teachers who declare themselves highly awakened and ascended masters without doing any shadow work. Religious fundamentalists who still see God as an external punisher and apply the 144,000 as an exclusive ticket to salvation. But the most dangerous ones are those who awaken just enough to gain influence, but not enough to become clear vessels of divine truth. They may channel partial light but still operate from ego. They may teach unity while unconsciously projecting hierarchy. They may claim to help others awaken, but really feed their own energetic need for importance. What will protect you from this distortion? Well, embodiment. Truth cannot be faked in the energy field, and those who carry the real frequency of the 144,000 will speak from the heart, not superiority. They will transmit codes, not control. They will activate remembrance in you, not worship. You'll feel it in their words, in their silence, and in their ability to walk away from the pedestal. Because true messengers do not want followers. They want freedom for all. You are not here to prove you are chosen. You are here to remember that all are chosen, but only some are willing to walk the path of sacred responsibility. And that's the real frequency of the 144,000. It's not superiority. Sacred service. By now, we're dismantling the truth. We're exposed the distortion. We've clarified that the 144,000 is a frequency, not a head count, not a hierarchy. But even so, there's still one question left on every listener's heart. If it's not about being chosen, then who are they really? Who carries this frequency, and why are they here now? So let's go there. Because the answer isn't a checklist, it's a vibration. And it lives inside the story of your soul.